Welcome to the Mind Myself podcast. I'm Esther, and it is my pleasure to be bringing you information about healthcare approaches, health issues, and people's health journey stories, all from the complementary, holistic, and integrative perspectives, helping you become your own best health advocate and helping you make your own informed choices because you matter. Welcome to Mind Myself Conversations with E. I'm Esther, or E, and I have a wonderful guest with us today. Her name is Cathy Sharpe. Welcome, Cathy.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, Esther. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit, Cathy. We're going to be talking about wellness and nutrition and grief. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about your credentials and your work in the grief counseling area.
Sure. So I have a master's in psychology and a handful of certifications. So I'm a breathwork and meditation facilitator. I have a certification in integrative medicine practitioning and CBT and EBT. So a few different things that go along with holistic healing in psychology.
Fabulous. So health and nutrition, what does that have to do with grief? Let's start that conversation.
Yeah. So that's the biggest thing, when we're stressed out, when we're kind of thrown off kilter, we have a tendency to either, we have ways that we naturally want to kind of offset ourselves to get us back on track. And that's either we're not sleeping, we're sleeping too much, we're overeating or not eating at all, or making really poor choices when we do eat to have that comfort food, right? We always want to look for comfort food. So a big bowl of mac and cheese or chips and, just junk food, which then, or we reach for alcohol or other types of things that kind of sedate us to what's really going on. When we do that, when we add alcohol, drugs, food, which I will say food by the way of sugar and carbs and things like that act towards our body the same as if we are overloading it with drugs. I read an article not too long ago that said sugar is by far the highest, most abused drug in the world. And sugar is like processed sugar, which is wild.
Totally agree with that. I just wrote a blog about that recently because we had Halloween in Canada. And oh my goodness, there's just so much information around that. So please carry on.
No, it's crazy. I read that not too long ago. I was like, oh my goodness, it makes perfect sense. Totally didn't even think about it though, until someone put it in my face. I was like, yeah, I get that. I totally see that. But when we do that, when we add in all of those extra chemical compounds to our body, when our hormones are already thrown off because we're stressed out, because we're grieving, because we're in that survival mode, now we're adding to it. So we think that it's balancing us out. We just need this caffeine to get through the day. We just need this sugar to get through the day. And so we think we're doing this, but what we're really doing is this. So it's making things so much worse. So 80, oh my goodness, I can't remember the exact percentage, but 80 to 90% of the serotonin is made in our gut. So when we're throwing in all of this junk, thinking it's going to make us feel good, what's happening is our gut is directly related to our brain. So all it's doing is releasing things in our brain that are doing the complete opposite that we want it to be. So we might have a quick little high that may last for a few moments, but man, do we come crashing down hard. And then we just go in that vicious cycle over again. So when we're grieving or when we're stressed out, for myself, I lose my appetite. So it's really important and really powerful that I consciously, if I can only eat just one little thing, I need to make sure that it packs a punch. So I know I need to eat a piece of chicken if I can only get a small piece of chicken, or maybe a piece of fruit, so that I'm still nourishing my body rather than poisoning it and causing more mental damage and causing more physical and emotional damage to my body. When we feel like that we're doing something more, we're actually doing something worse for it. So when we're not sleeping and we're not fueling and feeding our body appropriately, we cannot work through our emotions. So if we're grieving, but our bodies, our hormones and our body's throwing way out of whack, there's no way, or it would be really, really, really hard to work on our mental health if all of this thing, if the rest of our body is in like a tornado. So really making sure that we're hydrating and we're focusing on moving our body, showering. A lot of us, a lot of people tend to not want to shower. We don't move our bodies. We're not hydrating. And our mental health is going to continue to suffer because all of this is like a storm, which means this is going to be a storm too. So everything is interconnected. So really making sure that we're prioritizing those smaller things that are going to ultimately make a big, big difference in our healing process.
Wow, for sure. Now, two things that occurred to me as you were just talking about that. So you are a person who, when you are stressed or in grief, choose not to eat. So you have to make sure that you eat. Some people would be on the opposite side of that and just stuff. So what strategies would you have around that? And then I have another question around if somebody is inundated with all of these coping mechanisms and they can't choose what's one step. But let's go to the one question first. If someone wants to just stuff their grief by eating, what's a strategy or something that you could recommend to help them?
Yeah, so I have a strategy that I have my clients do. It's called stop, drop, and feel. When we're really in the midst of wanting to just open the fridge or open the pantry and just grab all of the comfort foods that we want, the biggest, the most obvious step I would say is don't buy the stuff when you know that you're going through this emotional roller coaster. Easier said than done. Not always possible. That's fine. If we are in that moment, then we really need to take a step back. And depending on the person, we go through a checklist, like, have I hydrated today? So if you're not well hydrated, your body's going to send signals that you're hungry. So we'll eat and eat and eat and eat because our body is looking for something that it's not getting. So I've had clients say, well, I've eaten an entire meal and I'm still hungry. Are you hydrated? So staying hydrated is vitally important because your body will confuse that and tell you it's hungry when really it just needs some dang water. So staying hydrated is a good one. If we're in the midst and we're able to catch ourselves either before or in the middle, is we immediately need to stop. We're in the middle of getting through a box of cheese crackers and we realize what we're doing, we need to stop. So we're going to literally drop, whether that is we're dropping down to sit down in a chair, we're going to sit on the floor, we're going to lay in a bed, wherever it is that we're comfortable, and check in with ourselves. And it takes a lot of conscious work, and it really does take a lot of checking in with ourselves regularly, but this is going to help us determine what's causing us to trigger us to go to the pantry or the fridge. Is how am I, and then we do a full body scan. How am I feeling right now? What's going on in my head? There could be thoughts and feelings swirling around up there that we weren't really aware of, but instead our natural emotion is to just, or our natural trigger is to just go reach for ice cream or reach for candy or reach for whatever it is that we're reaching for. But what's going on upstairs? How am I carrying my body? What am I feeling in my stomach? And really just start from the top and work our way down into how we're feeling. What was going on right before I went to the kitchen? What was said? What did I say? What did I hear? And having those brutal, sometimes very brutal conversations with ourselves to figure out what's going on behind the scenes that led us to want to walk to the kitchen. Am I just bored, which is a good portion of it? Do I need to get up and walk around? Do I need to go do something away from the kitchen? So there's a lot of checkpoints that we do to help check, to figure out what's causing us to run to the kitchen and what can we do next time to stop us from even getting there.
Wow. So just generating awareness. So courage to become aware. I think sometimes that could just be the hardest thing. And when you were saying your 3 steps, reminded me of the stop, drop, and roll when somebody's on fire. And this is like grief, you're kind of on fire, but in a very internalized way.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
bringing awareness to that. Great. So if somebody's in a place of just despair and they haven't showered in days, and just to do one thing that you've maybe suggested on here just seems like too much, where can somebody start?
Mhm.
One thing that you would say, okay, just to get yourself going, here's one thing, or maybe you have three things that they could choose from. I'm not sure, whatever your recommendation. What could they do?
Yeah. So this would be where it's very personal. So when, I'm always asked these scenarios, and it would be awesome if I just had an umbrella statement to say, this is the one magic pill that you can do. This is the one magic thing, but it really is where they are. So if let's say making themselves a nutritious meal is just too much. Like that's not happening, Cathy. We're not doing it. What else can you tell me to do? Can you get up and shower? Because honestly, sometimes taking a nice shower can make us feel so much better. Like, okay, you've taken a shower. Are you able to go for a small walk? Can you actually move your body? Moving your body releases endorphins. It gets the dopamine up. It moves these other things around. Having that natural sun, the vitamin D from being outside will work wonders with your body. So it really is meeting the client where they are. Can you drink water? Can you get dressed? Can you put on clothes? Can you do this? So it really is what is feasible to you? What makes sense to you? So the basic foundations and the basic human steps that I always say is, I want to see you showered. I want to see you eating a nutritious meal. And if you can't have an entire meal, I get it. That's totally understandable. Have a nutritious snack, something that's going to pack a punch. So a handful of nuts, I think, would be fabulous. A small bowl of fruit. Can you maybe drink a smoothie, and not an ice cream smoothie, like an actual fruit smoothie that's going to give your body some nutrition? Can you drink water? Can you, if you're not a journaler, can you talk to yourself and just talk to yourself like you're talking to another person if you don't have access to a counselor? Sometimes people can do brain dump journals, which works magic for a lot of people. I had a client that we worked together for 6 months, and we had a plan in place. And one of my homeworks for her was, I want you to say something. She had a really bad habit of saying negative things to herself. And I said, I want you to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm beautiful, I'm smart. And she said, no, I can't do that. Okay, that's fine. Then I'm going to meet you where you're at. And meeting you where you're at means you're not allowed to say anything negative. So if you can't say something nice, then you're just not allowed to say anything at all. And she did for weeks. For a few weeks, she just didn't, until she was able to feel good. She was moving, she was eating, she was showering, until she was able to feel good, to say, at least I'm worth at least doing something. I am beautiful. And now she's a completely transformed person. So it really is meeting you where you are and what makes sense to you. If something is too scary, going out is too scary, okay, then stay in. And what can we do that's going to at least get you up and get you making some decisions today?
Wow. And I love the tone of what you're saying, Cathy, because what I'm hearing from that is, be gentle with yourself. Yes, take action, do something, whatever it is, whether it's just getting out of bed is one, taking a shower, eating something nutritious. And if you can't cook it yourself, order out. We all have that. Many of us have capacity, etc. But be kind and gentle with yourself. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about sleep. I know that when people are grieving, oftentimes their sleep is the hardest thing. Either they can't fall asleep, or they wake up super early and can't fall back asleep. Can you talk a little bit about sleep and stress and grieving?
Yeah, sleep is another one that it really takes the proper amount of sleep for your body, whatever, some people only need 6, some people need a ton, wherever you're at on that schedule. But if you're not getting your sleep, that is going to directly affect your gut health. We don't realize that, but it does affect our gut health, which means, of course, it's going to affect our mental and our emotional health too. So it would not, we really getting our sleep under control in the very beginning before we can start doing bigger things to work through grief is a big, big, big priority, because sleep kind of sets the tone for everything. So I really do have this checklist, and again, and more homework that my clients, they're just all about homework, because it's setting the tone of our sleep hygiene. So are you showering at night? Do you have a nighttime routine? So we've got, make sure that your bedroom is clean and you're not running a TV, you're not running, a lot of us don't realize that when we do run a TV, I always highly suggest a white noise machine instead. Some people like the TV or even a radio, but it keeps parts of your brain up and awake. So we're not ever going to fully shut it down, because it's being excited by something is going on, so it wants to listen. So I always say, cut out the music, cut out the TV, and get yourself a white noise machine. So if you are already taking medications, sleep meds, a lot of people have them prescribed from their physician. If you're not taking that, chamomile tea, lavender oils at night. So sometimes even depending on the grade, the medical grade, rubbing them on your hand and just kind of dotting them on your chest, spraying your room with them, drinking chamomile tea, lavender tea, getting some movement in actually before you go to sleep can kind of help wind you down. Not doing anything too invigorating, so we don't want to be getting all riled up about stuff on Facebook. So let's put Facebook away at the very least. Do something that's going to calm you down. So a brain dump journal, again, is a big, big winner for a lot of my clients. And that means that you're just sitting down with a piece of paper and a pen and everything that's going on in your head, because we all know as soon as we lay down, every problem in the world pops up, right? It's just like right there. So I always say, just sit down, let all of those thoughts turn on in your head, because we know they're going to come, and it doesn't have to make sense. The whole point of a brain dump journal is to just write it all, just get it all out, dump it all out on paper. It's out of your head. You don't need to think about it. And that's a big, big help. And put it away. Put your phone not next to your bed. Don't put it on the bed with you. But really setting the tone, like your bedroom or this space that you're sleeping in is a magical, relaxing space. So, doing some light stretches, if you're, doing yoga is great, meditation, doing some breath work, some deep breaths to really release a lot of the toxins that we hold in. So there's a lot of smaller things that we can do that really add up to big time sleeping.
Wow. Some great tips.
Yeah.
Cathy, thank you for all this. As we wrap up, what's something you could leave the listener with today? Some tips, some wrap up?
Yeah. Yes. So my biggest tip and the biggest thing that I always tell anyone that I talk to is, life is full of choices. We make choices to do everything from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed. We're deciding to do something. Make your well-being one of those choices. Life is full of choices. We should be one of them. That means your mental health, your emotional, physical, and spiritual health should be a top priority every day.
Fabulous way to end. Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom and all of the amazing tips that you've shared with us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being with us at the Mind Myself podcast today. We know that time is precious and you've spent some of your valuable time with us. We're grateful. If you would like to reach out to our guests directly, the information is below. And if you would like more from Mind Myself, that information is also below. Please visit our website and check out all the information about the different complementary, holistic, and integrative healthcare approaches, information about health issues, more podcasts, tons of blogs, and we even have a community page for you where you could reach out and tell your story safely, or you could ask questions and perhaps somebody else in the world is going through something similar to you. In any case, we're so glad you're with us, and we're doing this because you matter.